If you've had Arizona on your must-visit list, in today's episode, we are sharing 4 popular towns in Arizona that are all within 5 hours of Phoenix and will truly show you the beauty of Arizona outside of the city. Listen in. Hi, I'm Rhea.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we are your hosts of the Travel Party of 5 podcast, where we share how we travel as a family of 5 around the world.
We will also share how we use points and miles to travel as affordably as possible and sometimes even completely free.
So if you're wanting to travel more with your family, but you're not sure how, we'd love for you to listen in.
So welcome to our podcast where we hope you learn a thing or two to get you closer to your next trip.
Hello, welcome back to today's episode on Travel Party of 5.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you.
We just had a incredibly dramatic saga where one of our microphones broke, and I was very frustrated because it's not that old and it was the whole thing. Fortunately, we have a backup microphone, which Dwayne is using today. So hopefully there are no audio issues, but if there are, we apologize.
Yes, sorry in advance.
So today we're going to be doing kind of like a second part to our Visit Arizona series. And we're going to be sharing 4 places to visit in Arizona that are pretty popular destinations. They're all within 5 hours or less of Phoenix. And these are all within Arizona. So there are other places you can go to within Arizona. That are within 5 hours of Phoenix that are outside of Arizona, like San Diego or Las Vegas or Palm Springs. We're not talking about those today. We are purposely staying inside of Arizona. And so those 4 main places are going to be the Grand Canyon, which obviously, Lake Powell / Antelope Canyon, Flagstaff, and Sedona.
Yes, all really beautiful places.
Yes, and we also have as a little bonus a few little towns that you can do day trips to from Sedona or really Flagstaff too.
We're going to tell you where you can stay on points at each of these locations and some activities you can do, mostly based on personal experience. I also want to mention that this is not an inclusive list. There are a lot of other places to visit as well, but these are the ones that give you the most bang for your buck.
And will give you a true feeling of Arizona, I feel like. Because if you're just staying in Phoenix, you're not getting it, in my opinion. Do you agree?
Agree 100%.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Number 1, Grand Canyon. I feel like this is on everyone's top bucket list. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world. And the South Rim is about a 3.5-hour drive from the Phoenix area. You can do this in a day trip. It's just a long day. And I have done this in a day trip probably at least 4 times. Because whenever people come to visit, they always want to see the Grand Canyon.
I just want to add that I've lived here for 25 years, and the first time I went to the Grand Canyon was, 2 years ago?
Yes.
Yep.
What did you think?
I thought it was beautiful. Definitely see why it's one of the 7 wonders.
Yes. Okay, so I can't remember if I said this, but the South Rim of the Grand Canyon is what is close to Phoenix. And by close, I mean, again, 3.5 hours. So there's also the North Rim. It's basically on the other side, and obviously you can't drive through it. So that's much farther away. So everything we're going to talk about is at the South Rim. If you don't want to do it in one day, then you can stay overnight. There's a little town. There's a few hotel options and some stores and restaurants. There is a Holiday Inn Express that you can stay at, which is IHG. So you can use IHG points to book that. I have stayed there once. It was fine. It's exactly what you would expect from a Holiday Inn, but they do the free breakfast and all that. If you want something a little more unique, but also a little more expensive, whether we're talking points or cash, there is also glamping. Okay. Now, we have not done this, yet, but I'm super excited about this option as a kind of once in a while thing. So I don't even know if you know this, but Hyatt recently purchased a brand called Under Canvas. And I don't even fully know what to call it, but their website calls it a, quote, luxury outdoor resort brand. So we'll go with that. Basically, it is glamping, aka tents, but think like luxury tents with bathrooms, hot showers, king size beds, the whole shebang.
Actually, I did know that because we found out at the same time.
Oh, okay. I mean, what do you like? Would you go stay in a tent?
I mean,
A fancy
yeah.
tent?
First of all, I'm not a camper.
Yeah.
So that's not me, but I would give glamping a try.
Yeah, I think. I mean, okay. So let me give you a little more info. So I think they have like 11 locations around the U.S. Most of them are all near national parks. So think Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Yosemite, Zion, etc. And I might consider this when we go to Yellowstone. But for the one in the Grand Canyon specifically, I looked it up for a family of 5, or I think you could even do a family of 6 for this room or tent, I guess. Okay, listen to this description. This is the Suite with Kids tent. Like, that's what it's called. So it's 360 square feet plus 147 square feet. So I think the suite is 360. Then there's also a kids tent, which is 147. It sleeps up to 4 adults only and up to 2 kids under 18 years old. As a side note, if you search for 2 adults and 3 kids, there are no options available via points. So what you have to do is search for like 4. And then there's even a note that says like add a note if you have more than 2 kids. So it is a private covered deck with furniture, raised canvas tents with hardwood flooring, natural tones and handcrafted furnishings, king size bed, adjacent kids tent with twin beds, living area with a queen size sofa bed and wood burning stove. Plus, private in-tent bathroom with a pull chain shower and flushing toilet, battery packs to charge your devices, fans, lanterns, and organic essential oils bath products.
I wonder if everything's solar powered.
I don't know, but so the cost for this suite was 44,000 Hyatt points a night. I was looking for next August just to get a good like idea of what it would be at what I think is peak time. They do dynamic pricing, so they don't follow the typical Hyatt award chart, and so your points cost could vary daily. This was just one date that I checked.
So there's no category for this place?
No, I don't think so. Similar to like the Mr. and Mrs. Smith properties, their points cost is based on whatever the cash price is. But here's the kind of thing that sucks a little bit is this is not a good redemption points wise because the cash rate for this exact suite on the same exact date was $540. So I would pay cash because that's not a good, like 44,000 points you should be getting.
At least 2 nights somewhere, right?
Well, yeah. Or like a room that cost more than $800. I think. So I would probably pay cash to do that because we value our Chase and Hyatt points a lot, but obviously do whatever works for you. If, using the points is the only way you can swing it and you really want to stay there, then that's what you should do. The other thing about these Under Canvas or about the Under Canvas brand is I'm pretty sure all of their locations are seasonal, or at least most of them are. So specifically for the Grand Canyon one, they are open April 16th through October 27th. And that's 2025 dates.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume it'd just be too cold.
Yeah, I think it's too cold. Yeah. And the other thing that I thought was cool is it is a dark sky resort, which means you can see the stars. They, limit the lighting that they have so that you can see the stars. They have coffee on tap. It said 24/7 on the website. I don't know why you need coffee 24 hours a day, but whatever. And they have a restaurant. They also have free nightly fires and s'mores and live music, morning yoga, kids activities, and I believe that those are all included. So definitely on our list to stay at soon.
Those are some nice touches for free.
Yeah, and I think like when can, I don't know. This is how you camp with kids when you're not campers. in my opinion. The kids would love it. Okay, let's jump into the second location, which is Antelope Canyon / Lake Powell. So you and I have been here, and
Yes.
I've also been here with my friends.
Yeah, you've been, 3 times now?
Total, yes, 3 times. So pro tip, there's a Mexican restaurant called El Tapatio in Page, Arizona, and you should eat there. But let's back up. So some things to do in the Antelope Canyon, Lake Powell area. Number 1, Horseshoe Bend is very popular. That is like, if you've seen the photo where it literally looks like a horseshoe and there's these big mountains and the horseshoe is the river, that's Horseshoe Bend. I would recommend it. There's actually 2 different ways that you can see it, depending on how adventurous you are. So you can visit from the top. You literally park and just walk over and you can see it. Or you can kayak or paddle the Colorado River, like around it. And so I've done both.
The last time you went, did you go to Horseshoe Bend?
Yes.
Like the top?
We went to the top and we paddled it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the last time I went, they were building like a viewing deck. Is that?
Yes, that's done now.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that?
It was fine. So, I mean, it's crazy because the first time that I went there, I think was 2015.
Yeah, there's like no railings.
That's
right?
when you were there. You were there too. Yeah,
Yes.
There was no railings. You just parked in a parking lot and you walked across like a very long sandy, I don't know, area. It was pretty long and it was just sand. Like it felt like you were walking on the beach, and then you just got to the top or to the edge. And there was no railing. There's nothing keeping you from going over the edge. And we had our 2-year-old with us.
Yes.
Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. He wasn't 2 because we had the second one by then. He was like 3.5 or 4. Almost 4, I think. So yeah, imagine just being at the edge of this cliff with the 4-year-old with nothing keeping him from going over the edge. That was terrifying. But yes, now there's like a viewing platform. I think you even have to pay money to park now. Like, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So anyways, but I'm going to tell you, if you want to paddle Horseshoe Bend, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it because it was really cool and I would recommend it. So if you're going to paddle Horseshoe Bend, you should not stay in Page, which is the town near Antelope Canyon and Lake Powell. You should stay in Lee's Ferry, which is about 45 minutes to an hour from Page. We stayed at the Lee's Ferry Lodge. We stayed there for 2 nights. You could do 1. The reason is you have to leave you want to leave fairly early to do this. And, driving back and forth just takes a lot of time. So it's where we stayed, which was the Lee's Ferry Lodge. You cannot book it on points, but it was fairly affordable. It was clean. It was fine. And they had beautiful views. And we were only 10 minutes from the launch at Lee's Ferry. Lee's Ferry is a town, like a very small town. So to do the paddleboarding or the kayaking, you first have to hire a ferry to backhaul you up the Colorado River. So you start at Lee's Ferry and then they'll drive you all the way up to the Glen Canyon Dam, which is about 15 miles from the start. Or they can also drop you at like the 10-mile mark if you don't want to do the whole 15 miles. The company that we used was called Kayak Horseshoe Bend, and our driver was great. I'm pretty sure it was like $80 a person for the ferry, but it's the only way that you can do it. You cannot drive there. Like there's no other option.
Did you do the 15 miles or the 10 miles?
Yeah, we did the 15 miles. So we went all the way to as far as you can go, and then they drop you off on like a little sandy area, and then you just get on your paddleboard or in your kayak and you float back down. And I think the river on average goes around 3 miles an hour. You go, but it's not super fast, and it's also very cold. The water is pulled from the bottom of Lake Powell, and so it's very cold. You also can pack in camping gear because there's a few campsites like along the river. So you can have the boat haul you up with your camping gear and you can stop at one of these campsites and spend the night. It's first come, first serve. They're free, but you have to get there early. And we did not choose to do that. The other thing that's cool is you can stop and see petroglyphs along the way. Like our ferry driver told us all the recommended stops and markers and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I think it took 4 to 6 hours to do.
And the petroglyphs were pretty cool, right?
They were cool. Like they're smaller than you expect them to be. So it's maybe a 5-minute walk from, like, you park your paddleboard and you get off and you do a little hike. They're small. But I mean, it's crazy to know how old they are. You know, like when you look at it, you're like, wow. So are they cool? Yes. Are they small? Also, yes. I also would recommend if you're staying in the Lee's Ferry area, there's not a lot there, but the Cliff Dwellers Lodge, which is another place you can stay. As a side note, I just haven't stayed there, so I don't know. But they had a restaurant and it was very good, so would recommend eating there for dinner. Okay, that was a little tangent. If you want to do Horseshoe Bend, that's how you should do it. But if you just want to visit Antelope Canyon, you also have 2 options. So one, you can book a tour with a guide, and this is what we did.
Yes.
So in order to go into Antelope Canyon, like from the ground, you have to have a permit. And the only people that can get permits are the guides who are, like, it's on native land. You have to be native in order to get a permit is how I understand it. So we used Ken's Tours, which is a pretty popular one. I can link it in the show notes, probably. Basically you climb down a ladder into the ground and then you're in the canyon.
Yes. Very beautiful canyon.
Stunning.
Our tour guide, I might add, was really good at the tour. He took our cameras. He took a lot of pictures, really great pictures. At one point, he had threw some sand on this thing that, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
So that in the photo there was sand trickling down.
It was actually really cool.
It looked really cool. Yeah. So that is, if you're crunched on time, that is probably what I would recommend to see Antelope Canyon. The other way, which is a little cheaper but takes more time, is you can paddleboard or kayak into the canyon from Lake Powell. And I've actually done this 2 different times, and you don't need a permit to do it this way. It is cool. Paddleboarding on Lake Powell is hard, but once you get into the canyon, because it's choppy, but once you get into the canyon, it's very calm and it's beautiful. If you're deciding between one, I would probably do the guided tour because I think that you get a better canyon experience, if that makes sense. When you paddle in, you're not fully enclosed. Whereas when you do the guided tour, you literally climb down into the ground. And when you look up, you really can't see the sky.
Yeah, I want to add, you drive up to this place and it really doesn't look like there's anything there.
It just looks
you
like
park,
an empty lot.
and then you go down this ladder into these canyons.
Yeah.
And then from there you're amazed by what it looks like down there, Yeah.
If you've seen the photos of the wind, I don't know if it's wind or water, but it's I can't even describe it. You know what? Go Google it. Unless you're driving, and then Google it later if you haven't seen it.
Google it. Do it.
So yes. So if you're trying to choose one, I would probably do the guided tour. But if you're looking for adventure, then it is fun to paddleboard in. You're just not going to get the full experience because basically you paddleboard in and you get to a point where you can't anymore. And that point, I will add changes depending on the water levels. One year we went, the water levels were very low. And so we were walking for a while. The second year we went, which was that last year? 2023?
Yes.
I think so. It might have been 2022. It doesn't matter though. We were still floating on our paddle boards in a spot where we had been walking the prior time. So at some point though, the water will end and you will park your paddleboard and then you get out and you can hike back. And you can hike back honestly as long as you want, but you need to be cognizant of the time. You also need to check the weather because this area is known for flash floods. And I can assure you that you do not want to be stuck in the canyon during a flash flood because you would probably die.
Yep. You definitely don't want that.
So keep an eye on the weather. But super fun experience either way. And then on the note of Lake Powell, you can also just go to Lake Powell for the day and rent a boat or, I don't know, hang out and enjoy the lake. So the water is cold, but that would be a good time as well. As far as where to stay in Page, and if you're doing Antelope Canyon or Lake Powell, you will want to stay in Page. The only exception would be is if you're paddling Horseshoe Bend, then you want to stay in Lee's Ferry. But for anything else, if you're just going to look at Horseshoe Bend from the top, which you can also do, you want to stay in Page. There's a ton of points options. We have stayed at a Wingate by Wyndham, which you could use Wyndham points at. That's where we stayed when we went with my parents. And then the other place I stayed is there's a Hyatt Place. And the Hyatt Place is in a beautiful location. It has beautiful views. And I would stay at the Hyatt Place if we were going to go again. It was a very nice Hyatt Place. They had like a really nice bar. It was cool. And I mean, there's other points options too, but those are the two that I've stayed at. Both were fine. I would do the Hyatt Place again. You want to talk about our next?
Yes.
Spot?
Sedona. We've been there multiple times. It's famous for the Red Rock. It's also famous for the only McDonald's that doesn't have a yellow arch.
Yes.
It's green.
What's funny is Dwayne hasn't read the whole script, I don't think, but that's in here.
Oh, do we have a script?
Well, it's not like a script. It's like an outline. And I had that on there.
Oh.
But yes, that's true.
But yes, yeah. If you come to Arizona, everyone always goes to Sedona.
Yes.
It's one of probably the most visited place in Arizona.
Yeah.
Again, you can do Jeep tours, hiking. It's famous for vortexes and things of that nature.
It's like general yoga,
Yes.
hippie crystal vibes.
Yes, crystals. That's what I was going to say next.
Yeah. Also, it's worth noting that if you're doing the Grand Canyon in one day, you could stop at Sedona on your way back and like kind of knock out both. You won't have a ton of time to spend there, but you'll be able to see it at least, have dinner or something.
Yeah, we did a pink Jeep tour.
Yes.
1 year.
Would
which
recommend.
I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
On that tour, the guide was showing us where lightning has struck the rocks. Do you remember that?
I do not remember that.
You don't remember that?
No, but I was pregnant when we went, newly pregnant, and I was so nauseous. As a side note, I don't think you're supposed to go on these tours when you're pregnant, but
because it's very bumpy.
Yeah, it's really bumpy, but it was fine. What did it look like where it hit the rocks?
It just looked like this little, perfect circle, like a burnt perfect circle.
Oh, you know what? I do kind of remember that actually.
Remember?
I also remember, okay, I don't know if this is true. This blew my mind when he said it, and I haven't been able to find any corroborating evidence that this is true. Tell me if you remember this. He said that, I'm going to butcher the time frame here, but maybe it was 1,000 years ago, Arizona wasn't a desert. It was like a lush, had lush landscape with trees and a lot of water and stuff. And that in another 1,000 years, it's going to go back to that. And I thought, what? Do you think that's
I don't remember him saying that.
I just remember I was like, I'm sorry. That blew my mind. I'm going to assume that was incorrect, but I also don't know why he would say it if it wasn't true. So, some other things to do in Sedona are, you said pink Jeep tour. You can visit the vortexes. You can hike to them. We actually haven't done that, but I would love to. They have a lot of crystal shops and little, hippie type vibes. And then they also have Slide Rock State Park, which is super fun with kids in the summer. I would recommend getting there early, but the reason that it's called Slide Rock is there is basically water has formed these rocks into a kind of naturally made water slide. It's not super long, but it is fun.
Yeah, definitely great time for the kids.
Yeah. Also good for a day trip.
And it gets packed.
It does get packed. Yeah. You want to get there early or you won't get in because they close the park. Where to stay in Sedona? So couple of options. There is a Hyatt Residence Club property, which you can book on points. It's called Pinion Point. And this is not like a Hyatt hotel. It's actually a timeshare property, But you can use Hyatt points, like I said, and you can also use free night certificates, like the 1 to 4 category ones. They don't honor any globalist benefits, so you're not going to get free breakfast or anything like that. But it does have a good location. There's also a Residence Inn Sedona and a Tribute Portfolio Hotel, which are both Marriott properties. You can book with Marriott points. And if you want a luxury stay, the place to stay in Sedona is called L'Auberge.
L'Auberge.
You cannot book it with points. You can only pay cash. It is not cheap, but it is like where famous people stay when they go there. So if you're splurging.
That's like down in like the valley, right?
Yeah, it's like right next to the river. The next thing on my outline was about the McDonald's. Dwayne stole my thunder. But well, let me explain why I was going to talk about the McDonald's. So Sedona has a ton of super strict building codes and rules, and that's why there's not as many hotel options as there are in other cities. It's also pretty small. Like Sedona is not big. And I was going to say, fun fact, Sedona has the only McDonald's in the world with turquoise arches.
And it's because they wanted to like blend in with the land and the surroundings. They didn't want a big yellow arch.
Well, basically Sedona was like, our building codes are so strict and rules are so strict that even McDonald's cannot have yellow arches here.
And I mean, I don't think you can build over like 3 floors, right?
Something like that. Yeah. Like there's nothing high there, which makes sense because it would totally block the view of the mountains. So
they also have, I don't know if you put it on here, but they have Snoopy Rock, which if you're looking at it from a certain place, it looks like Snoopy laying down in a bed, like sleeping.
Yes. I did not put that on here. So it's your second fun fact for Sedona. Okay, so from Sedona, there are 2 day trips that you could take. And one of them is called a little town called Jerome. Jerome used to be a mining town, and it's basically like this little historic town built into the side of a mountain. It's known to be haunted. They have lots of ghost tours. So if you're going in the fall, especially, I think that would be super fun to do a ghost tour like right around Halloween. But book in advance because they do sell out. Because we tried to do one when we were there, and I think we were there in October, and we couldn't. There was no availability.
Yeah.
This would also be a good lunch stop if you're doing a day trip. We have eaten at the Haunted Hamburger, and it was fine. Really good views because it's up like on a hill.
On the side of a mountain.
Oh, everything on the town is on the side of a mountain. Yeah. They also have an old bordello, which it's still called the Bordello of Jerome, except now it's a restaurant. I think that would be a super fun place to go, except if you have kids with you and they can read. Like, maybe not, because the menu is very suggestive, I think. So keep that in mind.
We didn't go there, right?
No, we didn't. No. The other day trip you can do from Sedona is Cottonwood. Cottonwood, I would say, is a little bit up and coming in Arizona in terms of tourism. And so it's on the Verde Valley Wine Trail, and it's most well known for wineries. So I would go there and visit a few wineries. They also have a state park that's called Dead Horse Ranch State Park. You can go hiking there. If your kids need to run around, that would be a good spot. The other thing you can do.
Are there dead horses?
That's how it got its name, is like there was like, my understanding is a dad and his kids were visiting these parks, and there was a dead horse on the side of the road at one of them. And later he asked his kids, which one did you like best? And they said the one with the dead horse. So that's how it got its name. The other thing that you can do in the Cottonwood area is the Verde Canyon Railroad. So if you or your kid is into trains, this is like a 4-hour train ride that goes from Clarkdale to Perkinsville and back on the Verde Canyon Railroad. This is a historic route. You have beautiful views from the train. You don't ever leave the train, so you're on the train the whole time. And it runs through like a protected corridor at the edge of a river, and you can see like these towering red rocks. You go near ancient Indian ruins, and I think it would be a cool way to see some of the foliage and stuff in the fall. And fun fact, isn't this what we have a gift certificate to do?
Yes. we have tickets for this. Well, a gift certificate, yes.
We need to book it.
And there are different types of train rides. I know there's like a chocolate train ride the lady was telling me.
Oh.
You can do a train ride at night. Yeah, comes with a bar, fully stocked bar in there. They give you like a charcuterie board to start. Yeah. So yes, we definitely need to book it.
Yes, we do, because we've been saving it because we wanted to go in the fall to see the leaves. So we will probably do a whole episode on that once we do it, and we will report back. Okay, the last of our 4 is Flagstaff. And as a side note, I probably should have said this in the beginning. I'm going to give you like how I would do a full 7 to 10 day Arizona road trip and exactly the order I would do this in at the end. So if you need an itinerary, it's coming. Okay, Flagstaff. Skiing in the winter, hiking in the summer.
Yes. It's up in the mountains, so it's not Phoenix.
Yes.
It's green. There's trees everywhere. It's beautiful.
It's not the desert.
Not the desert.
Yeah. Flagstaff has a lot of breweries. They have also the Lowell Observatory, which, fun fact, if you or your kids are into astronomy, this is the very spot where they first spotted the dwarf planet Pluto.
What about Uranus?
Oh my God. Bless your heart and soul. Did you know that it's Uranus?
No, I'm talking about Uranus.
Oh my God. I'm just sorry to everyone that's listening.
Yes, the first time I spotted Uranus was in Tempe, Arizona.
You got to cut that out. We can't say that. Okay. Also, from Flagstaff, you can also do a couple of day trips. And so we've got Williams, which is west of Flagstaff. And then we've got Meteor Crater, which is east. So let's do Williams first.
So yes, we went to Williams to experience the Polar Express.
Yes.
Or as my kid called it, the Kohler Express.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do it in the wintertime. It's like the Polar Express. You jump on a train. The kids are in jammies. You get to see Santa Claus from the train. What else?
Yeah, they have like cookies and hot
chocolate.
It's really fun. And then they drive you to
kids,
Santa's Village. It's
younger kids will love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Younger kids will love it.
Yeah. But
Santa's Village is interesting.
Yes, it's.
We are going to go this year for the second time because
first time we went, we only had one kid. Right? Or did we have two? Doesn't matter. Only one kid went.
I think it was just one kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we're getting to the point where our younger two haven't done it. And so we're going to do it again this year. Yeah. We have it booked already. The other thing Williams has is Bearizona. Do you want to talk about our
Bearizona? Definitely put this on your list. It's basically a zoo that you drive into and you stay in your car.
Yeah.
When we went during COVID. It was a perfect trip during COVID.
We literally drove up and back in the same day.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to stay anywhere, obviously.
Yeah.
But we had to get out of the house. The kids were going crazy.
Yes.
So.
And they loved it. I mean, I loved it.
It was really fun.
Yes. At the time we went, there was a bear trying to get into the back of this guy's truck.
Yeah.
It was pretty hilarious.
Our kids still remember it to this day.
Yes. It was pretty funny.
So yes, would recommend. Super fun.
Yeah. I mean, they have all types. They have bears. Do they have buffalo?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Or bison or something.
Yeah. Bison, wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good time. Definitely recommend that.
Yep. And then on the other side of Flagstaff, we have Meteor Crater, which is kind of near Winslow. So, standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona, you can go there and do that too.
Yes.
Meteor Crater this was another COVID trip we did actually. Let me explain what it is in case you don't know. It is a bowl-shaped pit that is 600 feet deep that was created by a large meteorite. The meteorite is thought to have hit the Earth at a speed of 29,000 miles per hour and released an energy equivalent of 10 megatons of TNT. and the impact vaporized most of the meteorite and left behind a crater that is 4,000 feet in diameter.
It's huge.
It is huge, and astronauts literally have trained here to prepare for exploring the moon. So you can go there, you can see the crater itself. They have a little visitor center with some other activities. And what's cool is we have since been to the natural history museums in both New York City and Washington, D.C. And both of those museums have pictures of Meteor Crater as part of their exhibits. And it's been so fun because our kids are always like, hey, we've been there.
Definitely put that on your list.
Yes, especially if you're like into astronomy and meteors and stuff. You can do the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff. You can drive to Meteor Crater. You can also, if you want to make this like a long day trip from Flagstaff, you can also continue on after Meteor Crater about another hour and visit the Petrified National Forest. So that's like best known for Triassic fossils and the Painted Desert. So that is there too. Yeah, I mean, we've actually never been there.
We've never been there.
In Flagstaff, where I would stay is the Hyatt Place Flagstaff. That's where we stay every time. You can book it with points. It's not super cheap. We were there earlier this year. We're going to go there in December. That's where we will stay when we do the Polar Express. But there's also a lot of other options in Flagstaff, including like Holiday Inn, Marriott, etc. What is the name of the haunted hotel? Do you remember?
In Jerome?
No, in Flagstaff. Remember we went in and we were like trying to go up in the elevator.
No. That was Jerome.
It was?
Yes, that was the Hotel Jerome. But there is also a haunted
hotel in Flagstaff.
Yes.
Let me. Yeah. Okay, the one in Flagstaff is the Hotel Monte Vista. And so that is, in theory, haunted. So if that's your thing, go check it out. Have you seen that on your ghost show that you watch?
I have actually. Both places.
Both of them?
Yes.
We didn't see any ghosts, which was a bummer.
No. I went around snapping pictures trying to get
that's what we were
something, but
that's what yeah. No ghosts in the photos,
nope.
Sadly. Yeah. Okay. So we did Grand Canyon. We did Antelope Canyon / Lake Powell, which is Page is where you should stay. We did Sedona and we did Flagstaff. So if you wanted to combine all of these places into like a 7 to 10 day road trip, this is how I would do it. So I would fly into Phoenix and then I would immediately drive to Sedona, which is about 2 hours. Obviously, you're going to rent a car for this road trip. And I would spend 2 to 3 days in Sedona. I would visit a vortex. I would do a pink Jeep tour, and I would take 1 or 2 day trips, like we mentioned, to Jerome and Cottonwood. I would visit some wineries. I would, check out Jerome as well. And, if you're short on time, you could do both of those in one day.
Would be a long day, but
it would be a long day. Yeah. And you probably couldn't do the railroad, but you could do, I think, everything else. Like, just don't drink and drive if you're doing wineries, obviously. And then I would drive to Page and I would spend a day there. I would visit Antelope Canyon. I would do the guided tour to save on time. And then I would also see Horseshoe Bend from the top. If you have more than 7 days, I would totally paddle Horseshoe Bend. That was just like a highlight for me. And I would add a night in Lee's Ferry if you're going to do that. Then I would drive to the Grand Canyon. I would stay overnight. I would see the park. You can drive through and stop at all the different lookouts, have lunch. They have a restaurant in the park and sometimes you can eat there and look out in are they elk that will come out? They just roam the grass there.
Yeah. I don't know if they're elk, but yes, something.
They also have a book that you can get in the Grand Canyon about all the people that have died at the Grand Canyon, which I find fascinating because it's incredibly sad. But when you go there, you'll understand why, because there are no railings anywhere. So like when we take our kids, they have to be either strapped to us or like they're not allowed to let go of our hand because it's, as a parent, slightly terrifying.
And it's massive.
Yes. Huge. Okay. So 1 day in the Grand Canyon, and then I would do 1 to 2 nights in Flagstaff, and I would do Meteor Crater or Williams or both, depending on what your interests are. Then I would drive back to Phoenix and I would spend 1 or 2 days in Scottsdale. I would enjoy the pool at my hotel, some good restaurants, and relax a bit after all the road tripping and maybe hiking that you just did. And that's what I would do. I like to save the relaxing for the end. So when you leave, you truly feel refreshed, when you're going back to the grind. Yeah. One more tip I have before we wrap up this episode is the way that I would plan a trip like this, or any trip where I need to look at where things are on a map logistically, is super simple. I literally put all the locations that I want to visit into Google Maps on a desktop, and then you can easily drag and drop them and find out which route makes the most sense geographically. So that is how I do for every trip, and just a little tip from me to you. And that is all we have today in our Visit Arizona series part 2.
Yeah, so if you're looking to come to AZ, hopefully this will help you decide.
It really is a beautiful, beautiful state. There's a lot to
is.
See here.
Just not in the summertime. Well,
no, actually I would do this trip in the summer because you're leaving Phoenix.
True.
And then you're, the time you have in Scottsdale, it'll be warm, but you're just going to hang by the pool.
It'll be hot.
Okay, yes, it'll be hot. If you are coming to Phoenix, send us a message on Instagram at travelparty5. Would love to give you some tips and restaurants and all that fun stuff. If you are so inclined and you found this podcast helpful, we would really love and appreciate a review or a rating, depending on where you're listening. That helps more people find our podcast, and we appreciate you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for listening.
Catch you on the next one.
Have a good one.
Bye.